Well, moving on to topic two, let's talk a little about fighting games, shall we? We kind of talked about last week in that emergency podcast episode. We talked about Mortal Kombat 1, talked about the reveal, the trailer, thoughts on the story, characters, all that stuff. And during that, we kind of talked a little bit about rumors for some guest characters that would show up. So we had heard rumors about Peacemaker and Homelander from, I think, The Boys is the show. Well, apparently, through an Amazon website leak, those two have been listed along with Omni-Man, which I believe is from the Invincible franchise. Obviously, just like any leak or anything, take it with a grain of salt. We don't know. It's not confirmed until we see it in gameplay or the studio themselves comes out and says it. Just kind of want to talk about some guest characters in pretty much fighting games, and just how cool it was, or the exciting ones that we saw along the way. And I guess before getting into that, guest characters are fun because it is that crossover and meshing of worlds that you never expected. Circling back to the last topic, I mean, guest characters, while we're talking about fighting games right now, aren't exclusive to fighting characters, or fighting games rather. I know the Tony Hawk American Wasteland, I think they had, was it Billy Joe from Green Day, the lead singer there, was a character for some reason. I know wrestling games have had guest characters. I guess you could kind of tie that into the fighting game stuff, but like Bad Bunny's in this year's WWE 2K. They had Fred Durst in like one of the SmackDowns on PlayStation. We're going to have Zeus in this upcoming DLC in 2K23 from the fucking movie with Hulk Hogan. I don't remember what that one was called, but apparently he's in that. So guest characters have been nothing like new, or wasn't anything new introduced in the fighting game franchise. It just seems like that's probably where they take place the most, or you see a lot of them. And it creates a lot of buzz, creates a lot of excitement, especially for people who maybe aren't a big fan of that gaming franchise. It gets them, at least gets their eyes on the product, maybe, gains interest for them. They try it out and maybe they find something new that they love. And that's the whole purpose of these guest characters. And while I know personally I've been back and forth on the guest character thing, I think it's a great idea. Once again, gets the word out there, brings in new audience members. It's also on the other side of the thing of just like, oh, but then you're leaving out X amount of characters, roster characters that could have been somebody in the story already that wasn't present, or a returning character, or something new that adds to the story already within. Usually with guest characters, story is just totally out the window. They're just there to look pretty, to look cool, do something cool, and once again, sell copies of the games. Fair enough. But yeah, let's talk about some cool ones that, from my experience with fighting games, that I really enjoyed, and see if there's some other ones that I don't know, just ring a bell, or like, oh, there so-and-so was in this one. So yeah, I just got a list of guest fighters on Fandom. I'm just gonna kind of go through it and see who calls out to me. One I can think of immediately off the bat, even before getting into the list, is Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2 had 3 guest characters, and they were all version exclusives. So, or rather, system exclusives. So you had a character for the PlayStation 2, you had a character for the Xbox, and you had a character for the Nintendo. They each had their own guest character until a later release, which I believe combined the Xbox and PlayStation, but didn't have the Nintendo one, because Nintendo's very strict with their stuff. But for Soul Calibur 2, PlayStation got the Tekken character of Heihachi. Xbox got Spawn from the comics, and then Nintendo got Link. And I just remember being, as a kid, being like, wait a minute. I had no idea who Heihachi was. I thought he was just a character in the game. But seeing Link at a friend's house, just jumping in there and doing, doing the spin with the sword. It was so out of place, but it was just cool the fact that they had something special for each version to bring to the table. Really cool to see that, and have that kind of also like freshness based on what platform you were playing on. And speaking of Soul Calibur, they did bring it back with Soul Calibur 4. They kind of had a little bit of Star Wars theme going, or maybe they got that license. But in the base game, they had the Secret Apprentice. I don't remember the character's name, but he was the character from the hold on, Star Wars Unleashed or Force Unleashed series, which was telling the story about a secret apprentice that Vader had to try and take down the Emperor during the time period in between episode 3 and episode 4. And eventually in the first game, like, you're all dark side and you're trying to improve your skills, hunt down other Jedis that may have survived Order 66, and then eventually you go after, I believe, the Emperor, or maybe you get close to that point and Vader like betrays you and you turn to the light side, learn about, your past in the second one, and it turns into a whole thing. But those games were a lot of fun. So Soul Calibur 4 had the Secret Apprentice in the base game to try and, I guess, cross-promote. But then they also had version-exclusive characters as well, as they had Vader on PlayStation platforms and they had Yoda on the Xbox platform. So you kind of got a little bit more taste of each character, at least for a while. I think eventually they had it where the other Jedi or Sith character was downloadable after a bit of timed exclusivity. But yeah, Soul Calibur's been on top of it. I know Ezio Auditore was also in Soul Calibur 5. I don't think 6 got Geralt of Rivia, so The Witcher in there. So Soul Calibur's definitely had their fair share of guest characters. Speaking more on my personal experience, if we're going to talk about some guest characters, we had a bunch. Mortal Kombat's been another one they've had, not some standouts, but definitely ones that they've always included for a while. I think definitely since Mortal Kombat 9, where they had Kratos was part of the PlayStation platforms for Mortal Kombat 9, and then they like doing their horror icons. So we had Freddy Krueger in Mortal Kombat 9. MKX had a bunch. They had Jason Voorhees, they had Predator, they had Alien, and they had Leatherface. I remember the hype coming around Predator and Alien, just because, the dynamic, Alien versus Predator, blah, blah, blah. So that was fun, even if I hadn't personally taken a part in those franchises. Mortal Kombat 11, Spawn made his return after a while. The Joker, just to kind of tie in with DC stuff. And then we got like the weird 80s kind of trip in there, as we got the Terminator, we got RoboCop, and we got John Rambo in there as well. So some interesting characters, all looked great. Some definitely were more interesting to play than others in terms of their additions. Injustice, because it's NetherRealm, had to do some crossover with Mortal Kombat. So Injustice Gods Among Us, the first one, did have Scorpion in there. Injustice 2 brought in Sub-Zero and Raiden. But then we got some very cool comic crossovers and guest characters with Injustice 2 as well, as we got Hellboy in there. And probably my favorite characters to play in Injustice 2, or at least some of them, would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Having the ability to use any of the turtles and then also have the assist mechanic to call in the turtles at different points was a blast. Just allowed for a lot of freedom. They shared a lot of movesets or moves or combinations, so you could dive into each of them easily, but there were also unique abilities throughout, like whether Donnie was using the bow staff, Leo the swords, Mikey the nunchucks and the skateboard, whatever it might have been. Each of them had their own personality, as they should, and it made for fun times throughout. they list Smash Bros here, and that's a weird one because I know it is technically guest characters because they are characters from, different franchises, but Smash, I don't know. I guess I consider them guest characters. Maybe that's a little hypocritical of me. But Smash Bros. Ultimate, when they launched with everyone's here, everybody from a past Smash Bros. Was in the game. And when they announced that they were doing DLC, it was the open possibility of like anyone and everyone can make. See, now I'm talking to, I can clearly see the hypocritical thinking I was having earlier. Of course, these were guest characters. The excitement about every Smash Bros. Character was palpable. Like, people were chomping at the bit. People were sweating over this stuff. Like, oh, Goku's going to make it in Smash. And, this person. Like, the rants, the raves, the arguments, the everything, the theories. And when people were finally revealed, like, don't get me wrong, there were some duds. I'm looking at you, Hero from Dragon Quest. But then we got some insane ones. Banjo-Kazooie, I know, was big for a lot of people from the N64 era. Terry Bogard, maybe while not the most exciting for FGC people, that one was hype as shit. But to the general audience, I understand that. We got some fun ones. We got the Minecraft guys. Sephiroth blew everybody's mind being in there, and that reveal, I believe, at the Game Awards. And then Sora to end it all out, just being like, holy shit, Disney played ball. And just like totally left field as well. Like, it was a high one, a character people wanted badly, but it was another one where we just thought, no, it's never gonna happen. It's Disney you're playing with. They're not gonna play ball. They're very protective of their stuff, but here we are with the insanity of that. And of course, you call back to the previous, DLC even before them. With your Cloud and Simon Richter from Castlevania, Ken from Street Fighter, and other characters along the way. You get some interesting ones and some fun ones in there. If you want to talk a little bit nostalgia, Akuma being in X-Men Children of the Atom was a fun little like hidden character, just to have that Street Fighter crossover and eventually lead obviously to X-Men versus Street Fighter and the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise from there. Just a lot of fun. Freaking guest characters are just insane. Just because, it's one of those things you can never expect it, because how could you? Unless it's going to be a cross promotion from a game from the same studio, once again, like a la the Injustice and the Mortal Kombat stuff. When they finally are revealed and just seeing what kind of crossover that is allowed, it blows your mind to even think like that was a possibility, and it opens up, similar to a Smash Bros., the door to anything. Guest characters, a lot of fun. Excited to see what we do end up getting in Mortal Kombat 1. If those three that we talked about earlier, Omni-Man, Peacemaker, and Homelander, if they do eventually make it. We'll have to see, because it seems like they do 2 to 3 each combat pack. We'll have to see what else comes up down the road. I mean, Peacemaker was very popular as a series, so that makes sense. The Boys have been crushing it, I believe, on Amazon for like 4 seasons now, and is very brutal, so that kind of lines up. And I think the Invincible series as well, they kind of go into some shit. So all the characters make sense in terms of like this universe and being kind of violented up. That makes 0 sense. Being brutalized. I'm curious who else could fit the script for this. We've already seen from last year's or the previous title, like we said, with Spawn and like Rambo and Terminator. Like, what other 80s type of nostalgia could we fit into? Are there any other horror icons we could fit into? Like, does Freddy make a return after his Mortal Kombat 9 appearance, which was, I don't know how long ago. I think it said 2008. in that article, so definitely more than 10 years. I don't know. Are there any other... I'm trying to think who stands out from like 80s iconography movie-wise or whatnot. I don't know. I feel like this is not my strong suit. But yeah, let me know who you guys think would be a guest character, whether it's Mortal Kombat 1 or even Tekken 8 or Street Fighter 6. I don't think Street Fighter is really too strong on their game having guest characters, but who knows? I think they had a guest character actually in Street Fighter 5's DLC from... what's the game? Power Stone. Was it Power Stone? Rival Schools? I think it was one of those. It was some franchise that I hear a lot of Capcom fans are clamoring for. But anyways, this has been another episode of The Wait, where we talk about podcasts. My name is Brett, aka Enigma9011. If you guys want to catch this podcast live, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. Drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live with the podcast or streams. You join on the fun, join on the conversation with us over here. But if you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show: likes, shares, comments, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does go a long way. So if you have the time and you could do that, we would love and appreciate you for that. Nice, short, and sweet episode for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed both the topics. If you guys are watching the PlayStation Showcase, hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully you get something that you're looking forward to, enjoying all that fun stuff. But yeah, let me know. Remakes, remasters, guest characters. Let me know what you want, what you want to see, where, or what were some of your favorite. And we'll definitely revisit this down the line. But thanks, everybody, for watching, for listening. And we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.